Let me start with Elder Juma on how has parenting changed so far.
Thank you. Parenting has changed over the years because we used to have traditional parenting. Traditional parenting was structured, no nonsense, and authoritarian or militaristic. Traditional parenting was also parent-centered. What the parent says is what goes. But today we have responsive parenting. Responsive parenting is child-centered, where children's needs, welfare will be taken care of, the way we handle them. So that is basically the difference between traditional parenting and responsive parenting. Not that traditional parenting was bad. It was good. At its time, it was good. At the time I was growing, mzee akisimama amenguruma, amenguruma. There were no ifs and buts. But we are saying over time, this traditional method of parenting has been overtaken by time. As they say in Kiswahili, imepitwa na wakati. So we cannot use the old ways of parenting. We must be able to be keen and adapt to responsive parenting.
Thank you very much, Elder Juma. Mrende Rido, what do you think? What are your views?
Yes, I am not opposing what Elder Juma has said, but I have very fond memories of the way I was brought up. I grew up in Nairobi, in Nairobi's council estates, and there was an element of traditional upbringing that I particularly liked. It was communal. It didn't matter which community you were from, parents assumed responsibility for all children. If somebody's parent found you playing around, not being home at the time you were supposed to be, making a fool of yourself, they disciplined you and they brought you home to your parents where you were disciplined further. When we went out during the day to play, it did not matter which house we were in. If it was lunchtime, the mother did not discriminate and politely ask you to go home. The mother fed all of you irrespective of where you came from, what ethnic background you came from. That is one thing that I still miss about traditional parenting. It was communal. These days, it is individual. We have high walls around most houses. We have children who are very empowered. Even when you are in a position of authority like a parent, like a teacher in a school, there are times you will hesitate to discipline a child because children are empowered, and there are children who even have numbers of their lawyers. If you do something not particularly to the liking of the child, you might just end up in legal trouble, even when it was your duty as a teacher to discipline that child. So yes, I still have a little bit of nostalgia, yes, but everything changes, and we must be in line with change.
Thank you very much. Before Conrad comes in, allow me to bring on board Chooks. Chooks, during the Gen Z demonstrations, young people say they are leaderless, rudderless, and equally they were formless at home. Do you still believe you are leaderless at home?
Thank you very much for that question. During Gen Z demonstrations, yes, we did say that we are leaderless. Formless, okay. About leaderless, the question is that, am I leaderless at home? No, I'm not leaderless at home. I have a father, I have a mother, who I see as leaders in my life. My father is the priest of the house, and my mother is the assistant of the priest of the house. And they brought as well that what Elder Juma was saying, that mzee akisimama aseme ni hivi, tunasema ni hivi. So at home, at streets, we were leaderless. At home, we have a leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Bro Chooks. We'll go to Elder Kiaka. You can tell us your perspective.
I think communal parenting, traditional parenting, to me, we have become too permissive. Parents have become too permissive to the extent that we have actually surrendered the parenting of our children to gadgets, house helps, telephones. Even nowadays I hear there are GPS tracking kids. You can tell where your kid is in the house. Of course, for safety reasons, that's a good thing, but it's so permissive that we, as parents in this generation, are allowing things that were not imagined in the years gone by. But one thing I want to make an observation very early is that no generation is parented by a generation that looks like them. None. Every generation is always parented by a different generation. Our parents did not look like us. Neither are we going to look like the Gen Zs. So I think we need to score that point quite early into the conversation, that it doesn't need to seem like the parents of now are playing catch up. It has always been like that. When I talked to my grandfather, who died at around 100 years, he told me he walked to Mombasa on foot from Kitui County. That was then. I could not imagine it. Today, when I tell my kids that I went to school 7 kilometers one way, they don't understand. So no generation is parented by the same generation. And neither this one is going to be parented by the same generation. The only thing is, because of the digital revolution, the leap looks too big in this current generation. Those are the observations I would want to make, so that it doesn't look like a lot has changed, because it has always been different.
The outcome of what they have done is disastrous in America. The community, as you were trying to bring up, the essence of community is not there. And as you were saying, the children have been left to be raised up by gadgets and things like those. So in my opinion, we should be careful what we take in, and what we should leave out. Because our culture was not wrong. It was right at its time. We need to have a hybrid, okay? A hybrid where you understand the times in which you are raising your child. Like, for example, at times, we were never buddies with our parents. In my time, I have to befriend my children so that I can get to know, in essence, what is happening with them. And because of the nature of the society as it is today, you cannot just let them to run around. But that does not mean that when you're supposed to correct them, you should not correct them. Because we are going to lose a generation. Remember, the governments, these policies are brought about by the governments. But they don't take the consequences of what comes out of that. For example, the toxic side of the American culture. And I'm going to speak from a perspective of, let me talk about black people, especially in America. This kind of people, they are told not to punish their children. They are told not to correct their children. Unfortunately, when you take that route, when those children grow up, what meets them on the other end, because they were never lined up properly, is a bullet. So you have to ask yourself a question. Do you want your child, when he grows up, or when he's there still in their teens? Because the police there are not like Kenyan police, they are quite hostile, especially on the black community. They will be met with a bullet. So you have to have a hybrid of one and not leave the other. Thank you.
I think the challenges of modern parents with technology is that there is too much information. There is almost information overflow. And if we as Christians, we are not careful, our children will be swayed away from the proper teachings. And let me go back and say, really, the Word of God is the Word of God. It does not change. Whether it is Genesis or it is Revelation, the Word of God is constant. And the teachings of the Bible are constant. It is we parents to teach our children the right way. When we teach them the right way, even when there is information overflow, they will still be on the right path. So to me, that will be critical. Teaching them in the right way. Teaching them the way the Bible says in Proverbs 22 verse 6, that bring up a child in the right way, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. Once you bring them up well, once you bring them the Bible way, even when they grow up, they will still remember. Whether there is information overflow, whether there is too much to know or to read or to see, they will still remain firm in Christianity.
Thank you very much, Elder Juma. But Brother Mredhi, we are dealing with children who say that I have left church but have not left God. How are you going to bring up such a child in God?
There is so much misinformation. And we have to. You can't hear me? Maybe I need to change the mic. Huh? Can you hear me? Can you hear me on this one? Yes, maybe let me just repeat that. I was saying that the internet is a minefield. And for every truth that is spoken, there are 10 liars. So even when we look out for Bible truths on the internet, there is one person who's probably telling you the truth about God and Christ and godly upbringing of children, and there are 10 people who are lying about how to bring up your child. And that is deliberate, and we must understand that war. That there are people who are out there to pervert the truth. That is the fight of our time, and it is very, very important that, for instance, you bring them to a church like this where they are taught the truth. And they are able to verify the truth. And we have things like family groups where we discuss the Bible. We have a pastor who's well read in the Word so that we are able to confirm what is right. We cannot leave children to self-learn when it comes to biblical truth. And when it comes to the bringing up of children, we cannot leave it to the internet to bring up our children. We cannot leave it to just the teachers. And I am seeing a lot of that happening in schools where parents are too busy. They have no time to look at their children's homework. That didn't happen in our time. Our parents still looked through our notes, looked through your mathematics, your English, your CRE, made sure you went to church on Sunday. These days, we are beginning to neglect a little bit of that. So the challenge is making sure that your children are learning the truth. And where do you learn the truth? From a church that teaches the truth. And like Sam said at the beginning, a family altar where you sit and read the Bible and discuss the Bible and ask questions. And even when those questions are not, we're not able to answer those questions within the house, we still have a reliable team here in church that we can come and discuss that with. I don't know if I answered your question. There was a part that I think I missed out. Maybe you need to repeat that.
Yeah, so Elder Juma clearly said that the best way to bring up a child is through God.
Yes.
But you are dealing with children who through the internet are arguing and saying that I have left church, but have not left God.
Yes.
What does it mean to you?
When they leave church where they can be nurtured and taught, you're basically leaving them to their own devices to learn anything that you cannot confirm. These days, it's very dangerous, even in the house. Even after you have done your family altar, you don't know when your child retreats to his room, which sites he will go to, what he'll be reading. You could be even in a discussion like this, and there's somebody on his phone who's somewhere else picking up very, very different information.
Okay.
So it is not safe to leave a child to his own devices. You must assert your authority as the spiritual, as the pastor of the home or as a priest of the home. You cannot leave a child to do that.
Asante.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Conrad?
Elder Kiaka, based on these dynamics that we see coming to play here, do you think parenting currently is more complex? Is it a real struggle, or you have a different perspective?
Clearly, I think to me, parenting is more complex than it used to be. I think for the very good points that the two gentlemen have raised here, Elder Juma and Ritho, you know, that aspect of communal parenting made it almost a natural law that your child will be taken care of wherever they are by a senior person. And you actually, if you were beaten by a senior out there, you knew you were waiting for another beating at home. It was that self-regulated. Today, your own child can actually sue you for caning them. To me, that is extremely complex because number one, it cuts against the very nature of the Word of God about training a child. Number two, it is also very difficult because the sources of information that a child has access to today are extremely mind-boggling. I mean, is it Moridi who is saying that, Ritho who is saying, you see, the internet is where every madman pours their madness. It is where every malicious man or woman pours their malice. It is where every ignorant person pours their ignorance. It is where every misdirected, confused person empties themselves. And the ratio, as he has pointed, the ratio of misinformation and disinformation is so high that sifting through what is actually true and useful is becoming extremely difficult. And unfortunately, these kids have access to all this information at an extremely dangerous early age. So, by no doubt, parenting has become extremely difficult. By the day, now, when we began this decade, none of us were talking about artificial intelligence. Today, we are all here talking about, we are faced by artificial intelligence, and a kid can decide to ask ChatGPT some things that you did my mother do the right thing? And depending on what is in this engine, which is not even thinking, it tells her that, by the way, some of the things your father did are wrong according to ABCD. And it becomes extremely difficult.
Okay. Yes. So you've admitted that actually parenting is difficult. But Brother Sam, how has technology then impacted your thoughts and feelings about parenthood, especially in Christian life?
I want to start with something I'm already saying. Children you must let your children know they're children. You cannot have children telling you what they have done or what they're going to do. You have to exert your authority as a parent. When it comes to technology and what it has done, it has complicated. There's no question about it. It has made us review. For example, it depends on the age that my children are. I cannot give if it's my 5-year-old, they only play cartoons, things of that nature. And you have to be able to limit what sites they can go to. can go to. You also have to be able to use, there are some apps, for example, that can help you to manage how you program your children, what they're going to do at what time and at what time. So it's complex, but we are getting there.
Clearly, you are a digital parent, probably a parent to a Generation Alpha, right? So, Generation X. So clearly, then comes to you, Chooks. You've seen how Christianity has evolved. How has technology then changed actually your views on how your parents are bringing you up?
Come up again, please, sir.
You want me to come up again?
Yeah.
Let me rephrase, right? So we understand that technology has actually played an integral role in parenting. Now, as a Christian child or a young man who is a Christian, how has this changed your views about parenting, especially as done by your parent?
I would say that I would first start by saying, as a Christian, Jesus Christ is the same today and forever, but ways of maybe evangelizing Jesus Christ has changed. And I'll continue by saying that technology has helped us to get a lot of information, which goes without saying that the information are either positive or negative as a Christian. While you were coming into the panel, you talked about things to do with the LGBTIQ, things to do about masturbation, and I'd really want to say that as a Christian, I dwell on things that will make me as a Christian. No, I'm not saying that these things are not in the online, they're there, but I dwell on things that will make me. You realize that I've said that we have vast information, both the positive and both the negative. So, as a Christian, I tend to dwell on things that will help me. For that, I would like to read something from the book of Proverbs, talking about information, and not just information, also talking about the knowledge that we get. And I would like to emphasize from the book of Proverbs chapter 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. And that is what I will say. Dwell on things that will make you. So as a Gen Z Christian, I dwell on things that make myself spiritually and also as a believer. Thank you.
Asante Chooks, Conrad. So maybe an additional question to Brother Chooks. All the parents have admitted that actually parenting in digital age is complex. But on the other side, we see what we might call the positivity of it, of technology, in terms of now you're exposed to more than one parent on the digital platform. You get diverse knowledge. You even have a digital parent, ChatGPT, the way we've been explained to here. Do you think this excess information and access to this technology is making you outsmart parents, or parents need to play a catch-up faster?
Okay, I don't know how I'll put this. Yeah, okay, but I'll just put it like this. It is a beauty, and it is the dream of every parent to see that a parent is having a smart child. I'll start by saying that. If today I was not really looking, or I'd say researching things to do with technology and a lot, then I'll be a liability to my parents. First of all, I'm saying that because I have instances where I have to help my parents on how to navigate things online, things in the technology, you see. So I'd say if, not that I'm trying to outsmart them, but I think these guys are really happy when they see us. We are learning. When you're getting good stuffs from the internet, when you're getting good stuffs from technology, I think they're very happy. So I will say that it's not that we are trying to outsmart you guys. We're also just trying to help where we can help. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chooks. But now to our parents in the panel, and I'm not going to pick anyone in any order. How can we balance setting rules and restrictions while allowing our children to explore and learn in the digital age? Can I come up again? Okay, let me come up again. How can we balance setting rules and restrictions while allowing our children to explore and learn in the digital age? Any one of you can go first.
It depends on the age of your children. If they are below 18, then you can make sure that they have limited access to the telephone. And then there are these smart TVs that you have these days that you can also regulate which content they watch. But if they are, even if they are still below 18 and you don't do that and you give them something like a phone and they're in their room, you could be in the same house but your child is on another planet. That happens quite a lot. I can't emphasize enough how maybe we should also, over and above setting limits, teach our children biblical truths. We don't emphasize often enough when we talk about the fruits of the Spirit, the importance of self-control. We place too much emphasis on all those others and we forget self-control. Self-control is integrity. It is what you do when nobody else is watching. We should teach that to our children because in the end, our children are very smart and they can put on a face. They'll pretend to watch what you told them only to watch when you're around, but you don't know what happens when you're not there. So it is important to emphasize on that virtue of self-control.
Maybe I can add on that. I like what Zaritha said. It is important to know the age of your children. They have said that there are 4 phases of parenting. The parents of 0 to 5 year olds, then there they have the luxury of being commander, benevolent dictator. You tell them, this is what I want. But again, in phase 2 of that, you have children of age 6 to 12. The role of the parent there is more of coaching. You coach them what to do. Then you have the role of parents of ages 12 to 20. Ages 12 to 20, you are more of a counselor. You are counseling them. You are guiding them. And then from 20 and above, you don't guide, you don't command, you become a consultant. So I want to underscore the issue of it is important to know the age at which your children are. You would not treat a 12-year-old the same way you treat a 20-year-old. And again, the critical issue here is you also have to be interested in what they are doing. Get interested in what they are doing. What sites are they visiting? What is it they are watching? Also, try to make it more interesting. Be involved in what they are doing. Also, there must be, in any situation, there must be boundaries. There must be things you say no and things you say yes. There is also what you call as a tech-free spheres. The tech-free spheres are that you keep a limitation or boundaries and say when it is meal time, there is no watching anything. When it is bedtime, there is no watching anything. And also, you must be able to take your children through the ages and be able, as a parent, to know when to let go. As they grow, you give them a bit of some freedom, a bit of liberty, so that you are able to catch up with their developmental stages.
Thank you very much.
Let me say something. We don't stop driving because somebody crashed yesterday. Neither do we stop flying because a Boeing plane crashed somewhere in the Philippines. We still fly. What we do, we follow the rules. So when God created man, he put him in the garden and he told him, you can eat of any tree in this garden except the tree at such and such a place. Because the day you eat it, you will die. So it's the same. God is parent number one. We must set rules in the house. It is not correct to portray rules as bad things. It is how you deploy the rules, as he's saying, that matters. You're not going to deploy 10 commandments of how to operate the internet in this house to a 2-year-old and expect results. You're not going to say that we'll be shutting the Wi-Fi at 11:15 p.m. to a university student who is finishing his homework for tomorrow morning. You get. So the rules must make sense, they must be relevant, and they must be age appropriate, as he's saying. They must be age appropriate. But you can't be an effective parent in this generation without setting very clear rules in the house about technology. I like the concept of technology-free zones within the house, technology-free times within the house, and other things. And then, as Elder Juma was alluding to, start introducing the concept of self-regulation at certain ages. That, I mean, at this age, you should be knowing what you're doing. But that comes because you started it early. What I'm going to do to my university second-year son is not the same thing I'm going to do with my grade 4 son. They are very different. But the complexity is that they're in the same house. And that's where the challenge now begins. How do you administrate that environment? Yes.
For me, I started by saying it is important to be, in this day and age, it's good to be a buddy to your children. I know that's not what we were taught when we were growing up, but it is important because it builds something called trust with your children. These children are going to school. You might be managing your child in your home in a certain way, but they're going to go to school and find other children who have also been exposed to things that you could have never thought of or imagined. And you should be able to sit down with your child and they tell you, or they are free to tell you some things, even what they have come across, even if they are strange to them. When you establish an element of trust between you and your child, it goes a long way. And also the issue of, for example, you also have to be honest with them. The things that are online. You must be honest with them and show them that, like as you were saying, they are landmines. It's a landmine. You must also be able to show them which paths they should not go to. Another thing that I do, because I think I'm the youngest in this parental thing here, I tell my children, for example, when you're using any gadget, you cannot be in your room by yourself. You have to be with other children. And if whatever you are doing, especially when it comes to entertainment, because I have a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old, if any of them is uncomfortable, you should know mostly I will put the issue of trust. And as I was saying, these apps, some of these apps you can be able to limit. For example, even if you're not around, that any of your gadgets does not come on until a particular hour of the day. And it can work for maybe 2 hours and then it shuts itself down. Things like parental controls, you can also instill them in there so that you can be able to manage if they go or to a site they're not supposed to go to, it will shut itself down and it will report to you. And I'll leave it at that.
Just before that, I wanted to say something very quickly, that watch the content that your children are watching. There is this thing called subliminal messaging. We grew up watching all sorts of, particularly cartoons, and I don't know, maybe our generation was not as sharp and as quick as this ones are. We completely failed to see the messaging. But now in hindsight, when we look at the programs we were very particularly fond of, we do realize that there were some places where there was very subtle, misleading, even satanic messaging, even in cartoons. Sit with your children if they are young, and even feel free to ask, what do you understand by this? We have just watched this. What, do you understand what this really is? It's very important to understand content because that is where the devil is.
So, Brother Chooks, you've listened to what these parents are saying about the rules and restrictions. What is your perspective on this? Do you think the rules are too much, too many, or still young people are too smart to bypass these rules and restrictions?
Thank you very much for that question. Sorry, guys, if you're feeling intimidated once more. I'd say that I really, really agree with what our parents here have said. First of all, what I would say is that as a Generation Z, we would really, the older generation, the parents can really play a crucial part when they will understand us. I'm meaning that what I'm trying to mean is that if you guys can sit down and also try to learn these online tools, it can really help, because you can now start resonating with us and understanding us. Conrad is talking about us playing smart with the rules so that we can avoid the rules. But if you guys, the older generation, can just sit with us and try to also understand the tools of the network and also the tools of the online and the technology, we can resonate. This one can create a space for each and every one of us. We can now start to have trust, building trust with each other. And also you will see that now the younger generation will start opening up to you. But only if you'll understand. I'm looking at a situation where I'll be telling my father about Instagram and what I saw on Instagram, and he's asking me, what is Instagram? And I'm like, wacha tu basi sasa. Yes. So if the older generation can resonate with us by also trying to understand how are these new technologies revolutionizing, you can really get much. It will create a space for us to have a common conversation, understand your kids, and also create a space for them to open up to you. I think that is what I'd advise.
Yeah. Let me add something there very quickly. I feel it's extremely important that we agree that no generation is parented by a generation like itself. None. The people seated here who are parents probably were parented by parents who probably never even went to school. Yeah? You see that. But that does not mean that they were not effective parents. What is there is, the reason why that works is because the older generation has perspectives that the new generation does not have, and vice versa. So in the case of us and chooks, what needs to happen is the parent needs to understand chook's context, and chooks must understand the parent's context. So when this father says, I don't know what is Instagram, chooks should not coil and what's wrong with this mzee? No. This mzee, I wrote my thesis in the 90s without Googling anything, personally. I never Googled a single word in my master's thesis. When I tell my guys that, they are like, what was wrong with you? They don't understand there were no computers. They don't understand that. So that generational difference between the parenting and the parented is extremely important to be understood by the two players. And once they understand that, they start bridging it by communication. Now, in our case here, the digital savvy chooks should accommodate the less digital father, and the less digital father needs to understand that chooks, this is the word they are using, and chooks, sorry to use you so much, chooks was born into technology. He is a native into technology, as we migrated there. And we migrated, and when we arrived, we had to learn the technology. We were not born in it. So we are migrants who are parenting natives. Yeah? So, and that needs to be very clear that the digital natives will be ahead in terms of technology. But in terms of experience and what counts for a successful son, the migrants are ahead, and they need to bridge that gap.
Thank you very much, Elder Kiaka. You know, we are in serious business of touching, empowering, and transforming lives. This is actually what we are doing. We are actually trying to touch, empower, and transform your life. Don't forget that we are here to actually man sharpen man. Proverbs, are we there? Congregation, are we there? Church, I wish we just had time so that we could do this. But Conrad, we are going to pick the last set of questions so that we allow our congregation to get home on time. Their parents, we don't want them to meet their children somewhere in the kitchen misbehaving in their phone, right? Good. So take over.
Probably, I think we should give the congregation a chance to ask one or two questions to the panelists. Then we can close with one round, just a wrap up. Anyone from the congregation? A question?
Yeah, there's there. Maybe you can just get the mic from me.
For the parents, especially Joshua Kiaka, you said something about we need to adopt and accommodate the new changes, right? But from the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. It's a recycle, you're recycling. So with this new technology, behavior, culture, you're saying, you know, our parents, previous parents, they're behaving differently. Currently also this is the new generation, so each generation have their own way of doing that stuff. But if you go biblically, when the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, I just want to reconcile these two. That you need to understand better. Are we doing something new that has never happened before, or whatever you are seeing it existed before, alleging that maybe you don't understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Gwanda. I think we can answer that one. We start with Elder Juma. Your take on that?
Chooks quoted a verse that we should seek knowledge. Knowledge is growing and expanding. But we are saying also that as parents, we should know that in as much as knowledge is growing and expanding and there is information overflow, but the word of God still remains true. A parent must still remain true to bringing up a child in the proper ways, irrespective of what is happening, irrespective of technology. Ours should focus on bringing up this child in a godly way, despite the challenges of technology.
Yes. I want to give it a slightly different twist. Proverbs 22:15, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Well, the foolishness is consistent. It is just the tools of handling it.
It's okay. It's okay. You see, there is no culture that can change God. God is not changed by culture, neither are godly principles changed by culture. Neither can a generation or even transgenerational change God. The principles of bringing up a child in godliness will not change whether we are communicating by thought, because a year that's where we are going. A year will not be talking in a few decades. Will be I just look at you and my thoughts can transmit what I want from you. God will not change. The same principles of godliness will still have. So there's nothing new in that sense, in the sense that God has never changed. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That does not change. And it's us who are supposed to adapt our styles of parenting to godliness, not the other way around. And that's where actually the danger of internet comes, because there is so much to reject and there is so much to sift through to determine what is godly and what is ungodly. Yes.
To answer your question, that scripture, it says nothing is new under the sun. One of the things, as I've tried to explain, everybody has tried to explain something very specific. No generation is the same as the other generation, no matter how you look at it. If you go to the early 1900s, most people were walking. Okay? The technology of cars came a little bit after that. Okay? After that, the people of, let's say, who were born in the 60s, okay, most of them, that's when the vehicles came around, especially in Africa. The generation before that knew only about horses. So no matter what generation you're dealing with, you are dealing with change. As time goes on, change is definite. But God is telling you the foundations are the same. Okay? The foundations of how to bring your child. That's the reason I started by saying you cannot ignore the former and embrace the new totally. Because there was nothing wrong with the former in its time. Okay? But you just have to learn how to do what you're doing before in the new context. That's the reason he's talking about tools being different. You know what I'm saying? So you advance as time goes by, but the foundations remain the same.
Brother Chooks.
My party shot on that, I'd say that I'll start by reading this verse from Philippians 4:8, which is saying, encourage us to focus on what is true, noble, and praiseworthy, guiding me in choosing what to consume online. This ensures that my digital environment reflects my values, my support, and my spiritual journey. I started by saying that Jesus Christ is the same. Today, yesterday, and forever, he'll remain the same. But ways of evangelizing Jesus will change for the generation. And that's why you see today, we are having a YouTube here every Sunday. Does not mean that these guys never used to have them during the days. But nowadays, you will see that we are having a YouTube every Sunday. Even as we are speaking now, we are using a technology because we want to get these young people. Where are they? They are online. So I'll say that there is nothing new under the sun. The word does not change, but ways on which we can spread the word, they change so that at least we can get to accommodate this generation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Chooks. Now we are on to the final round, and panelists, I kindly, you have a question over there? Okay, you have a question, kindly.
Thank you. My first question will go to Chooks. There is something you said about the older generations should learn so that they catch up with you guys, the Gen Z. I want to ask you, do you think it is both sides should learn from each other? Or should only the old generation learn what you know? Is it right from the Gen Z to learn how to operate with the older generation so that they both survive? To you. Then the second one will go to Elder Kiaka. You say that the new things that you're talking about, you've explained very well using the Bible. Now, how can you teach the same thing to a natural man who is not spiritual? Who knows Jesus didn't use a plane to fly? Who knows Moses didn't use a vehicle, but he used a horse, so that there are changes. How can you, how can the same message you given to us who are spiritual be related to a natural man who doesn't understand that concept?
Thank you. So I think Chooks take 1 minute to respond to the question, and equally Elder Kiaka, 1 minute for you. Take over, Chooks.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'd really start by saying that as a young generation, we are very open to learning a lot. Does not mean that when I'm saying that we are learning about technology, does not mean that I embrace things with that I cannot embrace the things that the older generation were doing that were working. I've written something short here so that I can clearly bring what I was trying to explain to be very clear than it was when I said it before. Because I've said that as a generation, we are not that stiff to go back and also look at the things that worked in the older generations. So, Dan, what I was saying is that parents and older generations can play a very crucial role in helping us navigate the complex ways of this digital life. This is one of the key approaches, is so that we can foster an open communication. And I'll end by saying, when parents engage in discussions about our online experiences, it creates a safe environment for us to share our challenges and triumphs. This not only helps them understand our world, but also it builds trust. Moreover, parents should seek to educate themselves about the digital tools we use. Familiarity with social media platforms and online communities allow them to understand the context we are operating in by participating in discussions about internet safety, mental health, and faith. They can offer guidance that resonates with our experiences. And I'll end by saying, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. Mr. Director, that is what I meant.
Thank you very much, Chooks. Elder Kiaka, 1 minute.
Yes, how you teach this natural man that Dan calls natural, how to understand. You see, Dan, the definition of sin does not change. It is the methods of committing the sin that change. For example, In those days, I needed to meet you to abuse you. Saa hii si lazima tukutane ndio nikutukane. I can abuse you from America. I can send you an abuse from here. It is still sin. The method has changed. So the problem with the old church is that they think the methods of sinning have remained the same. Sin has remained the same. Methodology has changed. Jesus said, if a man looks at what? A woman and lusts in his heart, he has already committed adultery. I believe that if Jesus was going to make that statement today, he is going to include pornography. So it is the methodology. So the way to teach this man is to show them how has the space evolved and how is sin being repackaged. Because the devil is an expert in repackaging sin. But sin is sin. It's still the same. So the way to teach them is to open their eyes and see the things that Chooks was born into, which they never saw when he was a young man. The things that they are exposed to, which he was not exposed to. And then put that in a total context. And then devise the appropriate response that suits but addresses that this is sin, this is not sin. Najua sahi naweza kutumia SMS ukiwa Britain na kuita ng'ombe. In those days, for me to do that, I had to meet you.
Thank you very much, Elder Kiaka. Now,
Just
church.
one last one.
Okay.
I think we've looked at digital tools and its impact on parenting in the negative aspect of it, what negative impact it has had. So really, maybe I'll ask the panel, the positive impact of the digital tools that we have, especially where you're parenting a rebellious child.
The digital impact, especially when parenting a rebellious child, that is positive. Good. So the positive impact of parenting a rebellious child in the digital era.
I think let me just resay it again.
Kindly do it.
And I'm saying the way we have had our discussion, we've looked at the negative impact of the digital tools on parenting. And what I'm asking is, the digital tools, if we can use them positively, yeah, especially where you're parenting a rebellious child.
Have you gotten it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it is unfortunate if we have portrayed technology as negative. Technology is very positive. These days we cannot live without technology. One of the other things about technology is we need to make it fun. We need to make it fun to use technology with your children in every situation. Things you could not easily get in the former days, you can now easily get them through technology, just by a touch of the button. So we need to appreciate technology, take advantage of technology, embrace technology, discuss technology, and say good things about technology. Yes, that will be my take.
Thank you.
No, I think if as Elder says, if that came out to imply that we only looked at technology from the negative, it's absolutely not the correct position. The correct position is technology has very positive aspects to parenting. The one that comes to mind because I've personally done this, is if my children are away from the house and I need to know where they are and what they are doing, and they have a phone, I can easily communicate. In those days, Elder Sam, I can almost bet you used to wait in anxiety until the guy comes home, and then you didn't even know how he was going to get home. So I think the facilitative nature of technology is hardy in parenting, because you can easily get hold of control issues, get things resolved very quickly and stuff like that. And looking at other aspects like, I think my brother talked about softwares that you can use to even control what streams into your house. Like you just tell it, these websites are banned from this Wi-Fi. Nothing should stream in here from the following websites. That is positive. There are very many positive aspects. And I think either we assumed they are given or they are obvious, so we dwelt on the negative. Yeah.
Okay. What I'd like to say is that another way you can use technology in a positive way, use it as an incentive. If your child is, if your child has an issue with behavior, you can tell him either you're going to take away the gadget for a few days or a few hours, you know what I'm saying, to encourage positive behavior. And when they achieve a certain level of good conduct, then they know what comes after that too. I think it's a positive way of using technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Church. Because we are respecters of time, we don't want to go way past that, but kindly allow us to give, I've seen your hand, but unfortunately, allow us not to take the question. Kindly bear with us. So you can actually write the question and have it in the suggestion box. Then the pastoral leader by our bishop will maybe be able to look at it next time. But for now, members, allow us to give the panel just 1 minute each to be able to sum up their presentation on what they think digital parenting in the digital age, is it more than just setting rules and restrictions? What are your general feelings about it as we put it to a close? Start from any order that you wish.
My parting shot is technology is definitely important. We cannot run away from technology. We need to plug into technology and make it user-friendly, even in your own homes. And as parents also, we have said we are now moving from traditional parenting to responsive parenting. Let us be able to interact with our children. Let's give them a freedom. Let them be able to freely express themselves, freely disagree with us, and we love them the way they are, and be able to help them go through
Asante,
these
your 1
things.
minute is
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you.
I'm not putting a damper on things, but sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. Huh? We must embrace technology. Technology has enabled us to do things that we used to do a long time ago manually. It has enabled us to be able to produce exponentially the volume of work we would have done as compared to maybe just 50 years ago. For instance, when it comes to spreading the gospel, technology has now enabled us to reach all the corners of the world. So it is a good thing. I will emphasize where there is a downside to technology, especially as it regards our interactions with our children, we teach accountability and self-control.
Thank you. Elder Kiaka?
I will go back to the statement I made that we do not stop driving because 3 cars crashed yesterday. We will drive, but we will continue observing the safety regulations. Technology is here to stay. Internet is here with us. What we need to do is to come up, understand, and adopt the appropriate management tools to manage technology for our own good and for our own children, rather than just looking at it as this thing is bad and we have to live in this era.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Brother Sam?
I think what I'd like to say is that as far as technology is concerned and parenting, is that every child who is born into this world they're not born immediately and they jump into a gadget. There's a period of time there where they are just as old-fashioned as everybody else was. It's just the rate from which they get from being born to being acquainted with technology that is different. And it's during those years that you have to instill what is right and what is wrong in a child. And as they grow up, then they will know how to navigate because they already have the basics and the foundations right.
Thank you very much. Church, it has been a wonderful opportunity to be able to... Jacques, you want to say something? Kindly do, in 30 seconds.
Okay, my parting shot will be, internet is here with us, technology is here with us, and technology is going nowhere. As I said before, let us embrace more of the good thing than just lying on the bad side of technology. Parents, it is our duty that when we are having our younger ones, let us embrace teaching them the good things, and they will not depart from it. Thank you.
Asante sana. Conrad, maybe a comment?
We've come to the close of this panel discussion, and we thank all the panelists that are here. We believe that you've gained valuable insights from this discussion. It was our first, and I believe the panel that we had selected, of course guided by God, that they've done a wonderful job, and you can tell us from whatever you've heard, they've engaged us, and they've shared with us their thoughts on this. So maybe a round of applause if you think and believe that they've done quite a wonderful job. Thank you. So I'll return this to Nick to close.
Okay, thank you very much, church. Men and women, all of us are men. We men. Men and women, all of us are men. So this is what I'm communicating and passing across to you. This week is the Men's Fellowship Week. We are having it this week. All we men are men. Keep on telling them to come. Let them come over. Let's fellowship together. And men at Pefa Donholm Church have decided to dominate in his service. Asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki.